Sunderland 1, Tottenham Hotspur 0 on this Sunday. A super Sunday for Sunderland. They were outstanding today and into the top 10 in the Premier League. Spurs, oh dear, they stay in the bottom three. Mark Donaldson alongside Janusz Michallik. First question, Janusz, what can you say to me, everyone watching, and the Spurs fans to convince us that Tottenham Hotspur is not sleepwalking its way into the Championship next season?
Nothing nice. Nothing nice. I mean, you saw a Spurs team that once again, at least in this game for sure, but in the past as well, showed that they have zero character and mentality. I mean, absolutely nothing. Even after they conceded, right? I don't think they were a threat at all. Maybe towards the end, I think Poor had a chance, but the reaction after conceding that goal was more of a here we go again, right? With a new manager and everything being on the line, knowing how important this game was, especially with West Ham winning on Friday. You think some sort of a reaction, right, to all of it, but no, absolutely nothing, zero.
Why? New manager, same Spurs.
Yeah, I mean, no leadership whatsoever, right? I mean, if you look at this game and you look at Sunderland, you look at the fact that they've lost last 3 games at home, big win away against Newcastle. We all know what that means in that part of England for them, right? But you look at Xhaka, for example, as a leader. Find me one leader where you can honestly, with a hand on your heart, say this is a guy that's gonna make things happen a little bit, right? Romero, we saw it. I don't know what to make of him. Again, I mean, I think of that tackle and that yellow card. That again, I mean, the elevator doesn't go all the way to the top. That is for sure. I feel for him because he seems injured and all of that. But this is your captain against Xhaka, and look at the performances from both in this one. So, it's a losing mentality. The worst part, Mark, is that I don't want to put that on Zerbi. Obviously, I mean, he's just got there. I think this goes way back for Spurs, and it's a complete institutional failure. If you look at Spurs in the last few years, the trophy aside, which was important, I don't want to take that away, but this is a club that has zero idea how to build a team, zero idea how to match the expectations of a wonderful fan base in a great stadium that Spurs don't seem to want to win in. So this goes years back right now, and that's all you can say right now. This is bleak. We often say, right, in the ESPN, West Ham's been toying with this, Everton from time to time. We always say these big clubs will find a way. But I'm telling you, after what I saw today, especially after conceding, you think to yourself that there is going to be some sort of reaction. With all due respect, this is Sunderland. I mean, it's not like they went away to a top-notch club, Manchester City, they can put you through the ringer at home, or whoever you want to pick. This was just Sunderland, who controlled the game with the exception of the first 10 minutes throughout.
And it wasn't a surprise today, Sunderland winning. I mean, they've come up through the playoffs last year. They've had heart, they've had fight, they've brought in Xhaka. Spurs are just too soft. And you can back up everything you've just said by this statistic. Tottenham Hotspur has failed to win any of its last 32 games when conceding first in the Premier League since a win over Aston Villa in November 2024. All the credit should go to Sunderland, but the headlines are about Spurs. And if you're West Ham and Leeds, who go to Old Trafford on Monday, and Nottingham Forest, who came from a goal down to earn a point against Villa today, that's what we're looking at. With Newcastle probably safe, and Palace, they came back and won by 2-1 against Newcastle. It's Leeds, it's Nottingham Forest, it's West Ham, and it's Spurs. 4 for 1 relegation spot. Yes, their goal difference is better, Tottenham Hotspur, than Forest and West Ham right now, but there's very few other positives for them. And you look at their games coming up, Janusz. Their fixtures on paper are all right, but these are against sides that have got a spine in the team. Brighton, Wolves, who are still battling even though they're about to go down, Villa, Leeds, Chelsea away, and they end the season against Everton. These are games that normally, on paper, Spurs should be winning the majority of them. But I don't know where the next win's coming from. For
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, that schedule looks all right when you kind of, when you have a few points more. But, going away to Chelsea and Aston Villa, that in itself is going to be difficult. Now, an emotional game for De Zerbi, right? At home when they haven't done well against his former team, Brighton, who's been tremendous. So yeah, I mean, nothing looks easy when you're in a rut like this. I mean, they haven't won a game in 2026. We're in April, almost in May. I mean, it just tells you everything. So you hope that the Zerbi, because he is the one with character, right? He is the one that comes in maybe with few more sessions. I mean, he found out a lot about his team today, right? I mean, he probably knew a little bit of that, but
what was the biggest thing you found out today?
The lack of leadership, lack of character, and
How do you solve that?
I think he's one of those managers. He's not easy to live with, right? As we all know, but he's the sort that's going to call people out, and he's going to have to call people out. I mean, right in their face, in front of the whole team, and kind of say, "Hey, this is what it is. Don't think you're so and so." And in your mind, maybe you'll find a team next season if there's no place for you here, or for whatever other reason. But I think he needs to call some players out. I mean, you look at that team. I mean, I was trying to look for the positive. The first 10 minutes were positive, because the one thing that I like about De Zerbi is that press conference, right, where he wanted to take the chains off the players. He wanted to play attacking football, right? Because normally when you come into a team in this situation, first thing you may want to say is, organization, defensive stability, a little bit of pragmatism. Let's get a result here. No, he said otherwise. And I kind of get it, because he's got the players that should be capable of doing that, but they haven't. I mean, today, really all about character and mentality, all lack of it. I mean, if you look at on that left-hand side, Mandava and Lefay, I mean, they were doing anything they wanted. I actually felt for Porro a little bit today, because he had Kolomuani, who A, doesn't know how to defend, and B, doesn't want to help. And, I mean, they were doing almost anything they wanted on that left-hand side. Not to mention, of course, the goal that, I mean, that goal, even Conor Gallagher, one player that I should say that normally I think has the character, right? I mean, we've seen him in the past. To play for Cholo Simeone as well, Atleti, you have to have some character. So he does, but even on that play, I mean, he lets Michallik just walked in, and the rest, don't even get me started with Van de Ven and Romero, just kind of standing, hoping that you're going to block that, right? I mean, it's not like Muani's going to, Michallik is going to slip a ball or dribble between two of them. You got to go all the way, make sure that he doesn't even think about taking the shot. So, yeah, I mean, when it's bad, it's bad. I think we've all been on this team. It's easy for me to say, but I just remember times like these. I absolutely remember times like these when you look around and you know that you don't have much going for yourself in terms of that character.
I found it interesting, your comment about De Zerbi having a go at the players and giving them some home truths. That's one choice. The other choice is to use kid gloves, and I don't think that's going to work. The problem you've got here is there's no transfer window. You don't have a spine of the team. He brought on Palhinha. He brought on Pap Matar. Kevin Danso came on for Romero. It just seems like rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic here. You've got 6 games to go. You need to find a spine of the team. You need to find yourself hard to beat. Is that doable in 6 games for Roberto De Zerbi?
I think it always is. I really do. Just as long as you get the attention and call some truths, right? I mean, as I've said, kids' gloves. I don't think that works. Obviously, you're not going to have a go at everybody and make them feel even worse than they feel right now. But I mean, there's a way of kind of making players understand, right? Because all the substitutions that came in, I mean, zero difference. I mean, Tell was there as well, and Xavi Simons came in. So obviously he tried everything. It's kind of learning about this team a little bit. And I don't know what he's going to do. Obviously, as we all know, Spurs have so many key players injured, but that's been known for a long, long time. And there's still enough depth in that squad to do it. And if you ask me how he's going to do it, I have zero idea, because I'm probably as discouraged as you can tell as anybody else, because I look at a team with quality and that I don't want to say gave up, but really, I mean, once you concede the response, that would worry me tremendously, because there was nothing. If anything else, Sunderland got even better and controlled the game even more.
Yeah, he hardly had a save to make, Robin Roofs, in that second half, especially after Sunderland took the lead. There was no hunger, there was no desire, or it looked that that was the case. There should have been. But for Spurs, the fans are going to be really worried that they'll be visiting some right funky places in England where you're going to need more than a map to get to in the Championship next season unless they can turn this around. By the way, Sunderland are 2 points off Chelsea in sixth. What a season it's been for them. Is there one thing above anything else that has been the reason for their success, or is it a multitude of things and a combination?
I think the culture that the manager has created, the leadership of Shaka. I think you look at this team, and on certain, on paper, it doesn't look all that great. But look at this. I mean, no excuses for that team. Remember, and I was going to look that up, but I know African Cup of Nations, they lost a lot of players on that team.
Yep.
Perhaps more than most or anybody, really. My apologies for not looking this up, and nothing's changed, right? So that tells you that there's clear understanding of the roles within the team, clear understanding of what the team needs to do with or without key players, right? Whoever you plug in, that system continues to work. And part of it maybe is that, and this is what Spurs may find out. I don't wish them to go down, but if they do go down, maybe they won't take things for granted, right? We all know the story of Sunderland. We've watched it in documentaries and all that. We know how much you had to suffer. I mean, the fan base and the players had to suffer through the years. And, through that suffering, sometimes you learn, right? You're not going to be playing beautiful football, although from time to time, Sunderland is very much capable of that. But, the team doesn't change from game to game, right? You kind of get what you expect from them. And, at the end of each game, when I watch Sunderland win or lose, you say to yourself, well, they gave it all. They had their chances. Maybe sometimes unlucky, right? But steady Eddie. The worst teams are like Spurs, where you say to yourself, look at all the years, look at all the managers that came in. Nobody seems to know how to find a way, and injuries are no excuse. If anything else, they got to look into it, because it seems they have injuries for the last 2 or 3 seasons, same amount all the time. So once again, within that club, when I was speaking about the institutional failure, I mean, they got to have a look at the entire organization. It's not just a question of the players that we see today. It's not just a question of the Zerbi, obviously, because he just got there, and even to a degree with some managers. So haven't been making a lot of good decisions, and they're paying the price for it right now.
Sunderland, the sum of their parts. When you look at some of the players that they brought in, Xhaka was a brilliant signing. That was the leader that they needed. But these players are loving the fact that they've got an opportunity to showcase their talents in the Premier League. I mean, Ronaldo had a nice life in Madrid with Atleti, and he was doing well. He was one of their better signings. And obviously, he's on a lot more at Sunderland. You've got to pay them more to get them to come to Sunderland, and you've got to get them to buy in to the culture. And whether it's a siege mentality or whatever it is, but you look at that Sunderland team today, they're much better than the sum of their parts. Whereas you put that amount of how much it would cost to buy all those Spurs players, they're nowhere near the sum of their parts. They're a team of individuals that are just wandering along aimlessly, while Sunderland have got a platform, and Regis Labrie has done outstandingly well. And by the way, for Spurs, 16 games is their longest winless streak in the top flight, and that was in 1934 to 35. They're already at 14. So problems abounding for Spurs. As far as the other games are concerned, Newcastle taking the lead against Crystal Palace away from home at Selhurst Park, but a stupid tug of the jersey by Botman, giving Palace a late penalty, which Mateta converted for his second of the game. That's a big win for them, Janusz. They go above Newcastle. What a day for Sunderland. They win, Newcastle lose, and Sunderland extend their lead over Newcastle to 4 points.
Sunderland, a lot of role players, as we've mentioned, right, that are hungry. Obviously, a lot less pressure than Spurs, that's for sure. I love these stories. We've seen them again. I'd like to see Sunderland do this again next season, because as we all know, right, some of these players are going to, even like Xhaka, I mean, he's going to probably start declining at some point. Not that I wish him to. By the way, the one thing, and And you know, a player like Broby today, a nuisance, had a couple of chances early in the first half. Remember a header and all that. And oh, by the way, to me, a red card on Porro for Broby. So one thing that Spurs, I suppose, if they're even going to argue, because it's one of those where who knows where the game would have gone. But for me, that elbow there, yeah, I know it was wrestling. I know it was a frustration. But if you look at it closely, to me, a very dangerous play, and it should have gone in that situation.
I didn't think the referee was great today. I didn't understand why he gave Spurs that penalty, which thankfully VAR called him to the screen and told him to overturn it. It was a bit of an erratic performance from Rob Jones today.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I don't have a problem if referee doesn't see something when two players have a goal like this. You know, I can understand how sometimes you see it differently. You see, you know, but as long as VAR does its job, I have zero problem. You know, the situation is if VAR calls the referee for something that's, you know, minuscule or maybe doesn't, you know, confirm what we all thought. So that penalty, I could see how referee in real time could have thought that maybe, just maybe, it's a penalty, but VAR made the right decision. We all know it when we saw the replay.
Chelsea against Manchester City just about to start. We'll wrap up with a quick chat about who's going to go down. I want to look at the table again, if that's possible. Nottingham Forest coming from a goal down against in their match today against Villa, who they had chances in the second half. I mean, Morgan Rogers has missed a sitter. Ollie Watkins has had another huge chance as well. But Forest have held on, and who knows, come the end of the season, with that goal difference of -12 that they've got, that could be huge. So we now know that the top 5 is going to Europe. Villa, Liverpool, Man United, Man City, and Arsenal right now occupy those spots. Chelsea about to play Man City. But let's look at the bottom of the table. Leeds go to Old Trafford Monday night. Forest get a point against Villa. West Ham looked good against Wolves eventually. And Spurs looked awful at Sunderland. Fixture-wise, Spurs probably have the better on paper of the fixtures. What are you thinking now as far as Leeds, Forest, West Ham and Spurs are concerned?
Well, I mean, it's bleak for Spurs, as I've said, but I don't fully trust West Ham either, right? So I mean, anything can happen there. I mean, they're a team that convinces me. I don't want to say almost less than Spurs, but in a way, they really do. You know, it was a good win for them on Friday, that's for sure. But anything can happen there. So for Spurs, there's certainly a hope. Can Leeds get dragged in? I mean, we all know what Leeds Manchester United game means to both sets of supporters as well. It's going to be isolated because it's a Monday night match as well. So if United does what they've been doing as of late, now that's certainly a great turnaround. I think Leeds can be dragged in just as well. So game at a time right now. I would not look at the schedule, especially at the bottom, because as we all know, with the sort of pressure that comes in here, you don't have to look to play against a big name to make up your mind that, oh, maybe it's a tough game, because you can lose against anybody right now, because that's what pressure does to people. And there's so much on the line financially and all of that, that it makes zero difference to me. One game at a time, as managers often say, the next game is the most important one. And that is true.
That's for players. But for us, final game of the season, West Ham take on Leeds. It could be tasty. It could be very tasty. Enjoy Chelsea against Manchester City. Full reaction on ESPN FC. Coming up later today on ESPN Plus in the United States. My thanks to Janusz. Janusz and I will be together again for Athletic Club against Villarreal this afternoon on ESPN Plus from La Liga in their retro weekend. I'm away to get the glad rags on and hark back to the 1980s. We'll see you again soon. Bye for now.